Why is this house not selling? We are selling our house and we have been having a really hard time doing so. The only feedback we've gotten is that the road is too visible or too loud. We have an appraisal done at $520,000. The houses around it are selling at a similar price to the original asking price. The backyard is mostly bordered by a 6-foot city wall. The house is on a slight incline which causes you to be able to see directly over the wall into a fairly busy roadway. To combat this, we added trees in all major viewpoints of the house. We've gotten a lot of showings. We got one offer 2 months ago for basically original asking price, but they backed out 2 days later due to their family looking at the house and convincing them it was too close to the road. Please give us any advice on what to do to help the views to the road. We can move the trees around too if need be. We looked at doing a tall artificial boxwood hedge to help as well. Check the Zillow long to see what you think. TLDR house on market over 2 months. Why is it not selling? Zillow link. Update: we lowered it by $10K. Why would your agent start the listing with "We've heard your concerns"? As a buyer, I would immediately X out the listing. Edit: I see you've revised the description in the listing, but stating the sellers have also added a half-dozen magnolia trees for privacy and better visuals is still highlighting the negatives. The road. Just eliminate that entirely. Let people come and tour the home and decide for themselves if the road is bothersome. And drop your price more than $10,000 if you're serious about selling. I wouldn't open with the positives you added to counteract the negatives. Does not set the tone that interests me as a buyer. Just list the extra features and let them stand on their own. The sellers have also added a half-dozen magnolia trees for privacy and better visuals. All I can see are the trees, but I'm left wondering why the house needs more privacy and better visuals. Your realtor needs to stop highlighting problems. Buyers in Frisco likely want a bigger, nicer backyard that isn't close to a busy road. Also, the first few words of the property listing make me think there could be other concerns that I'm missing even if I'm interested in the home. Perhaps we've finally hit a point where people don't want to pay $500K for something that was $300K 3 years ago. Price too high. That is almost always the answer to why a house isn't selling. You can't really do much about the road. You could plant more trees, upgrade doors, windows, install acoustic panels. Obviously, that stuff costs money and time. You could also just decrease the price. That wouldn't really solve the road visibility sound problem. However, it opens you to more potential buyers who might not care or be bothered by those things for the right price. $9K in property taxes? Ha 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 ha. Texas can keep that shit. I would have planted thick, tall hedges assuming they can thrive where you are along the wall rather than trees right in the middle of the damn yard. 1, they'd block the view better. 2, they'd act as a sound dampener. If those trees in the middle of the yard are your answer, then yeah, I can see why you have no takers. They do nothing but take away from the useful space of the yard. You paid around $315,000 in 2020? And want $500,000 now? Maybe if rates were still at 2.5. With rates hovering around 7.5, you're not going to get more than $450,000 for this. Slash the price drastically or rent it out. OK sign. If it's not selling, it's the price. 2 years ago the house was $283,000. Raise it $200K in 2 years is a hard pill to swallow. Why do sellers list their properties $15K over market value and yet still ask why isn't my house selling? Don't be greedy. The exterior shots of your home and backyard don't match how nice the house looks on the inside. I would probably drop down to $475 or even $450 if you really need to make a quick sale based on the comps others have provided here. The market seems to be in the initial phases of correcting, so I would definitely be aggressive. After 2 months, it's the price, unfortunately. Beautiful home BTW. With rates looking at 7.5, anyone buying this is going to be paying a shit ton of money even with good credit. Best of luck to you, but it might not be the right time. Home is excellent BTW. You're in a buyer's market in your area. You know the answer. Price too high. Lol, love this question because it has an answer sellers hate. Your asking price is too high. I know this house is magical and it's one of a kind. It's a deal. It's not, otherwise a buyer would have paid. Now unless you're willing to do seller financing at like 5. Guess what has to come down? Also fire your realtor for the "we've heard your feedback" comment. Now importantly, you bought it at $320K and in 2020, so I'm assuming you have a hell of a good deal. Rent this bad boy out. How many showings did you have week 1? Are showings still steady? I ask because if you're not getting showings, it's usually because of photos and pricing. Your photos look solid, so I'd look to pricing as the element that is stopping people from walking in the door. I'm a fan of pricing lower to drum up attention and get showings. Note I'm not an agent. Also change that description. Bleg. Ask your agent to do a new CMA for the last 2-3 months. Upgrades and appraisals are meaningless. Your house is only worth what someone pays for it. I agree the language on the listing needs to be changed. Unfortunately, you can't change the location. The house is really lovely though. If you have a 6-city wall in your backyard, you border on a highway. 2 things that catch my eye are so many windows, almost all of which have a fence only a few feet away. When I see that, it doesn't matter to me how big the room itself is. It still feels crowded and really turns me off. Also, I think this one is probably also on the list of things you can't really change. But there isn't really any usable outdoor space for kids' swing set, etc. And the outdoor rear space looks pretty rough. That means the younger families will probably pass in favor of somewhere with a more kid-friendly yard unless you offer them a price they can't refuse. Can this sub add a bot that automatically responds to these posts with its price too high? Incurable defect. $450K. Based on comps in the area and taking into account the beds baths, I would say that you are between $40K-$60K overpriced. Your house is beautiful, but when I look at what's available for sale, your house isn't any better than ones listed at $440K. Rather than looking at comparing yours to one that are lower, look at the house on Ocean Drive for sale $525K. People looking at $500K are also looking at $525K. 25K over 3 years is nothing to a mortgage payment. What house would you rather have? I know exactly where this is. You back onto Rollator, which, while not Preston or the Tollway, is still a busy road. At that end of the market, options abound which are located in the interior of the subdivisions. The house looks great, but for $30,000, $50,000 less, I can be nestled in Queensgate or across Rollator in Preston Vineyards. You probably need to be at $220 PSQFT rather than $241. And, again, you back onto Rollator. ETA, you're also in Frisco. Home to MAGA assholes. Horrendous traffic. High property taxes and scorching heat. Word has gotten out. Price. Because you've changed the things which can be changed. What cannot be changed is location. Your feedback suggests location is the main objection. Probably. It will be overcome by a lower price.